Getting everybody in here. Awesome. Yay. Hello, everyone. Just went to grid view. I don't know why, but it did. Someone's at the Seinfeld couch, Renee. Hey, Robin. Okay, so just because I'm throwing out some tips, although I'm probably supposed to start right now. I found out yesterday there's a new feature in pivot tables for Google Sheets. And if I just spoke Chinese to you, then just don't worry about what I say next. So when you make a pivot table in Google Sheets, and now when you double click on the data points in the pivot table, it pops out a new sheet where it filters out all the rows of data, which is pretty cool. All right, so just for fun. Okay, it is 12:30, so we can go ahead and get started. Hey, okay, we got Robin already. I'm gonna paste this down here. If you would go to alicekeeler.com/IE Google Camp 21, I have a Google form for you to fill out. It will add a slide to my slides, so you can put anything on there that's appropriate. Now that I said that, I invited trouble. Give me a tip for Google Classroom, give me a favorite tool that you like to use, ask a question, or give me a wish, and I'll explain that in a second. What do you wish you could do with Google Classroom? Okay, so you are at alicekeeler.com/IE Google Camp 21, and that link will also give you the link to the slides. So if you don't want to fill it out, it'll at least give you the link to the slides. Okay, and then for the moderator, maybe if you wouldn't mind copying and pasting that link, the alicekeeler.com/IE Google, then if more people join in, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I'll do that.
That would be super helpful. Thank you. All right. Well, for those of you who don't know me, I am Alice Keeler. We're going to see if this shows up because they like hide in the background, like yay, Zoom backgrounds. My newest book is Teaching with Google Jamboard, and I'm really excited about it because, I just love collaboration tools, and I've got 180 QR codes in here of templates and samples of different ways that you can teach with Google Jamboard, and you can, of course, get that on Amazon. And I have 7 books, but the book before that is Stepping Up to Google Classroom. So if you are new to Google Classroom, this is a great resource. But of course, if you just go to alicekeeler.com, I have tons and tons of free blog posts and resources for you. And please don't be afraid to unmute your mics or to chat in the chat. I'm going to be watching the chat. And please interrupt me. That would be no problem for me. All right, so what do you wish you could do with Google Classroom? That's the link that I gave you, the alicekeeler.com/IE Google Camp. And let's just start off with a good Kansan. I have recently-ish moved to Kansas. I lived in Fresno, California for 30 years. And last year, I came out to Kansas to visit, and I'm like, it's pretty nice out here. Gas is only $1.99 a gallon. And I just ended up staying. I still haven't gone home. My bed is still at my house in California. Like, I just accidentally moved to Kansas. And so I've been a long-time Ginger Leorn fan, and she's also from Kansas. And it is a little bit of a culture change for sure, Valerie. I am so close to the mountains, Alicia. I'm actually practically in Colorado because I'm in the very southwest corner of Kansas. I'm right above the Oklahoma Panhandle, and I'm 29 miles from Colorado. So actually, I like to fly in and out of Denver as my preferred airport, even though it's 4 hours and 45 minutes away. Also, I fly United, so that's one of their hubs. So I'm in Denver all the time, and Denver's a really fun place to visit. And then living in Kansas, I don't have to pay the prices in Denver or California. So just to make all of you jealous for why you want to come move to Kansas with me, or you can come visit. Any of you are welcome anytime. I have room for you. All right, so I bought a 6-bedroom, 3-bath house, like over 3,000 square feet, and I have a 16,000 square foot yard. How much do you think that cost me? $205,000. I know. I have 5 kids. Like everyone has their own room, and I promised the kids they could have a dog. I know, right? And everyone here is like insanely super nice. And so if you'd like to come out to visit me in Kansas, that is an open invite for sure for any of you. I'm an extrovert. I'd love to show you around. My favorite thing to do is to go to Dodge. I don't know if you know this, but like all the cowboys, all those cowboy movies was in Kansas. I had no idea. So we go to White Earth Boulevard and you can get a sarsaparilla. And then we go up to the distillery that's in the old jail, city hall, firehouse, old schoolhouse, like the original building up at the top of Boot Hill. That's my idea of a good time. So if you want to come with me to get out of Dodge, you let me know, we'll go. All right, so Ginger Lumen, if it is not working, do something different. Let's, the kids should beat in our chest, like they should, but they won't, and they're not gonna. And if every year you just want to complain about it, what good is that? And so I love spreadsheets. Like nobody loves spreadsheets more than me. I love spreadsheets, I love data, I like to code. And I love data because I feel like data is not a 4-letter word. Old data is a 4-letter word. It's when it's given to you 2 units later, like I've moved on from that. Why are you giving me last year's test scores? Like I actually talk to my kids. I know what they know. I don't need your old data. And when you're sitting in a meeting being forced to sit around and look at old data, is there really anything worse? You have to pretend you care about this. When you're like, I have some new data coming tomorrow when I'm given my test. Like, come on. But data, when it's given to you in a timely way, and I would like to say immediately, the state testing data doesn't help me that much. It's that formative assessment that I do during class. It's all the data I collect and do, and I look at it. That's to me one of the reasons that technology can improve learning, because like when I use a Google form instead of a Google Doc or instead of paper, the Google form gives me data. I can tell how many students missed question number 1, how many students missed question number 2, and I can sort that spreadsheet from the Google form to specifically know which students missed question number 1 and which different students missed question number 7. So I don't have to like, hey, everybody, a lot of you missed question 7. I know, you didn't miss it. You didn't, but why don't you just sit there while I go over it anyway? With technology, I can target my differentiation a lot better, and I know who and what I actually need to target. And when you use data like that, it's transformational because kids want to learn. They want to feel successful. And sometimes just the minutia of how we do school, the game of school, is not really so motivating, right? I do my work, I get some points, I move on to the next assignment, I get my points, I move on to the next assignment. Like, doesn't feel like you're really, it's a game. And so when you use data, say like, okay, I see that these are the things that you're struggling with, and let's go over this. Learning feels good. And when kids really feel like they're learning, that's really motivating. So I love to look at data. I am not sharing my screen. So you have no idea what I'm talking about. And I've had several slides here and you haven't seen any of them. Am I sharing my screen? I'm not. That's funny. I'm used to using Google Meet, so it kind of looks like that. Okay, all right. I'm Alice. I'm really good with technology and I can't figure out how to share my own screen. Feel free to tweet that. Here's my Ginger Lumen quote. If it's not working, do something different. Ginger Lumen, she's from Kansas. I am a math teacher. I am teaching high school math in Kansas. I'm doing that part-time because I logged into Schoollytics.io and I'm like, this is what I do. I code Google Classroom. I have like, if you go to alicekeeler.com/reuseGC, keeler.com/reuseGC. So this is something I've coded. It's a Google Sheets spreadsheet that allows you to manage your Google Classroom, get some reports, pop out a roster to Google Sheets, do a whole bunch of other cool things. I like to use my auto grading feature where it just gives everybody a default full credit. So I don't have to spend my time going 4, enter, 4, enter, 4, enter, 4, enter, 4, enter. I use Rubik's cards. So I log into Schoollytics and like, I know how they did it, but it's really fast. So I asked them for a job. So I am now coding part-time for Schoollytics because I like to code and I like data and I like Google Classroom. I've written 7 books. You can find them at alicekeeler.com/books. And if you would join me and say hello on this jam that I've made. Here it is over here. Ooh, Robin's way ahead of me. Thanks, Janie. Debbie in the house. All right. Shalimar is here. And we got some Liz Hernandez. Thanks for joining. Sorry, go ahead. You can control your own note. So this is one of my tricks. I use Google Tools because I want to collaborate. I use Google Tools because I want to hear from all my students rather than just hearing to myself talk. If you look over on the center left is the icon to add a new sticky note. So I see some of you are copying my other note, which is fine, but you can make a new one by doing it right from the center. And I'll tell you what, this just never, ever in my whole life will get old. I'm a Google certified innovator. How long have I been using like collaborative Google Slides or Google Docs? You remember like so many years ago, you'd show someone a Google Doc and someone joins and they're like, oh, no one does that anymore. Like that's the norm. Like someone's joining my doc. But when I use, just put up a jam and you can just add this right into Google Classroom, just like you can a Google Doc, just like you can a Google Slides, and make it collaborative. I am now asking like, hey students, what do you think? Share your ideas. And the class becomes a lot more around my kids' input rather than just me talking. Tammy's here. Thanks, Tammy. Ricardo, welcome. Melissa, thank you. Paula, welcome. Eileen. And of course, FC is using just the text box, which is totally good. Hey, Jackie, thanks for being here. Steve's here. Christina, Chelsea, Anita, Elizabeth, Mark, Rochelle, Jennifer, Paula, Valerie, woohoo! This is going to be fun. I'm excited that you're here. Mike Murphy and Nora, I hope I didn't miss anybody. Thank you for being here. I'm going to go up to the top center of the jam, and it has the frame bar. And so if you expand that out, you can see that I have multiple frames. So if you go to frame 2, now here's a fun tip. If you click on my picture, so you know I have like these 41 people, if I click on any of these pictures, it'll take me to the slide that person is on. So if you find me, you can click on my picture and you can see, you jump to where I am. So do you have a favorite Google Classroom tip? My favorite Google Classroom tip is to number all of my assignments with a 3-digit number and a hashtag. Uh-oh, Penny, what did you forget to do? Okay, all right. Come over to the second frame. Y'all are still on the first one. Okay, we got 10 people there. Add a Post-it, sticky note. What's your favorite classroom tip? Favorite classroom tip. We're gonna leave here with a really nice resource for everybody. So we're all gonna crowdsource this up, some classroom tips. Okay, we got one, schedule assignments. And you know, coming soon is the ability to schedule multiple classes, right? Schedule a different time for first period than second period. I know that we're excited about that. Invite parents to get the updated emails. Yes, okay, you know what? Here you go, there you go. Another tip is if I copy the link, I'm looking at frame 2 and I copy the link to frame 2 and I paste that in the chat, it's gonna send you right to frame 2. So that link at the top will go to the frame that you are on. That's also true for Google Slides and it works on Google Sheets as well. So if I'm on the 5th sheet, the link at the top links to that 5th sheet, even if you reorder them. Yes, have a topic for each week. That is how I do it. I have a today topic. What are we doing today? And then at the end of the day, I drag them down into, this is what we did this week. Yes, we can reuse assignments and posts. You should definitely do that. And if you do the alicekeeler.com/reusegc, it is specific to let you reuse multiple assignments at once. So I can reuse 2 or 5 or 20 or whatever. alicekeeler.com/reusegc. I tried to copy this out of the chat. Control-C copy. There we go. And paste, right? Be interactive, schedule, invite parents. Yes, number all of your assessments, absolutely. Assigning assignments by topic. Google Classroom is designed to be organized by topic. I demand you use topics. Please, please, please use topics. It's all about the classwork page with the topics. Okay. Thank you. So you can go ahead and keep adding some of those on there. I'm going to go to frame 3. What do you feel works well with Google Classroom? Like what are other things? So I was using Mote today. I love Mote. I love Screencastify. Screencastify works really well with Google Classroom. Yep, someone else loves Mote too. Me too. I use Mote a lot. Okay, thank you. All right. GimKit, awesome. Grade transfer. Okay. There's so many great things. Like, I feel like any product that doesn't have at least a share to classroom button is missing the boat. Earpod for sure. I use Pear Deck. Okay, yeah, thank you. I love quizzes. That's one of my go-tos. There we go. Thanks, everybody. My husband loves Common Lit. He's an English teacher, and it's free. Of course, Kahoot. Kids will run to class and poke each other in the eye to do a Kahoot. Thank you for these. Okay, so I've got a back channel. So if at any time you want to just, I mean, obviously we have the chat, so you probably don't need to back channel. You can just back channel in the chat. But I do have that fourth frame for you to just add little notes and sassy comments if you want to. So those are there. I'm going to switch back to, apparently I can't. I am going to switch back to my presentation. Oops. There we go. All right, so what we're looking at today is specifically thinking about the data we have in Google Classroom. So I do assume that you are a Google Classroom user. And I just want to point out a few things that you may or may not know to kind of help you to take Classroom further so you can look at data, so you can see, is this working or not? So we can change what we do. So right when you go to classroom.google.com, up at the top left, it says to do, to review, and calendar. And they keep changing what these are called all of the time. It used to be called work. Now they split it up. To do is for students, to review is for teachers. So that's a great place for you to click to review, and you can see all of the assignments that students have submitted, so you can return them and give feedback, right? The problem with that is, for me, is I have so many assignments, it starts to choke. With all my classes and all my students in there, it's very slow to load. Does anyone else know that? So here is my hack. When you're in an individual class, when you're looking at the stream, this is on the stream, friends, it's on the stream. In that upcoming bubble, do you know where it says view all? That's like an Easter egg. For years, I never even thought about it. One day I accidentally clicked on it. It opens up the to-do page filtered for that class. Filtered for, so it's like, woo, real fast. I'm able to see the list of what all the students have turned in. Now, similarly, what I like to do is I like to turn on show attachments and details. I know this is a very hot, contentious topic, and I will talk you into it. But what I love is to sit at the end of the day and look at the stream. The stream is where we build community. The stream is where I get to know my students. That's where we have discussion board questions. So I want to be able to see, like, this is the assignment. I can read the directions, and it shows me how many students have turned something in. So I scroll down the stream. It shows me the full description of the assignment. It shows me who's turned it in, and I click on that turned in number, and I can give feedback a lot faster. Also, I can see the class comments on an assignment a lot easier if I turn on show attachments and details, because I'm really here using Google Classroom, not so I can dump stuff online, but I want to interact with students. It's that relationship building and the interacting that makes the difference. Otherwise, research shows that using technology does not improve learning at all. So if we want to improve learning, we have to use it differently. Build those relationships, be quick to respond, do the feedback loops. You got to return everything. That's how Google Classroom is designed. If you do put scores in Google Classroom, I stick to rubric scores, but if you put scores in Classroom, they will not see the score unless you return it. And so what I like to do is I go to the to-do page and I hold down the control key. I hold down the control key so that when I click on the number turned in, it opens in another tab. That way I don't have to reload the list. You know what I'm talking about, y'all. I don't want to reload the list. So I hold down the control key. I click on it. It opens in a new tab. These two students, I will give them feedback and I return their score. And then I control W, close the tab. If you don't know control W, this is your new favorite keyword shortcut of the week. Control W, close it. Now I'm back at the to review page, and I'm just trying to go down there, and my goal every single day is to see 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I want all the turned ins to be 0. How does technology let me improve learning? Is that I don't have to wait until every student submits something to give them feedback. Because the longer the gap between a student finishing their work and getting feedback, the less they care. So I'm going to have a lot higher impact if I can respond to students as quickly as is reasonably possible. And when it goes to 0, when someone turns it in after that, then I know, because it says 1 and not 0. So I'm like crazy about it. I want zeros on my turned in all the time. If you come look at my Google Classroom and I don't have a 0 on turned in, I'm embarrassed. Like zeros, return, 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 return. Okay, and I'm checking the chat, so feel free to ask questions or say anything sassy, whatever you want. Or if you just want to turn on your mic, that's okay too. I usually don't like to show this to people necessarily because like that's a whole other session. We'll do this another time, is talk about grading. And so when you put a grade on something, students hyper focus on the score and they all but ignore your feedback. So, but you can export those grades to Google Sheets, because how can you easily see kind of an overall view? It does not export the grade if you turn on the grading features in Classroom, and I will tell you it's calculating it worse than you think it is. The Google Classroom algorithm is unacceptable in my opinion. And if some other time you'd like to discuss that, I can help explain that to you. So I always leave show grade turned off, and I let my gradebook, my actual gradebook, calculate those calculations. But you open up any assignment. If you open up any assignment, this cog is in the upper right-hand corner. If you open up any assignment, this cog is in the upper right-hand corner where you can select copy all grades to Google Sheets, and it pops the scores out to a spreadsheet, which now you can sort and filter and do all kinds of things. You can use Autocrat to merge it into your own progress report. So this gives you more control. Google Classroom actually doesn't have progress reports. It does, I'm gonna show you that in a minute, but not really. So exporting it to Sheets is a great way to get that. Aisha, the way that I deal with students turning things in over and over again without making any changes, I will not look at it unless they leave me a private comment that tells me what did they fix. If they don't explain to me what they fixed, I'm not gonna open it, I'm not gonna look at it. And pretty quickly, I'm gonna figure out who these knuckleheads are, and I'm just gonna tell them, look, if you resubmit something, you keep doing this, I'm not going to open it. And I leave them a note and says, you know what? I only have so many hours in the day, I'm not gonna look at a blank document again. Usually that'll work, not always. I just try and talk to them like, I know what you're up to. Most students, it's kind of an accident, but some students are just stinkers. The grades tab. So you look at the top of Google Classroom, you have the stream, you have classwork, you have people, and you have grades. And that of course gives you a nice grid. And again, I would use the tip to hold down the control key when you click on anything in the grades tab. Yes, I make one comment at least, and I make them leave me a comment or I'm not gonna look at it. So this is new. I have the beta testing version, so show me the activity tab. I actually have a meeting today with Google to give them my feedback on the activity tab. So coming soon, you're gonna see it says stream, classwork, people, grades, and activity. And activity shows you their last activity. So if they turned in 5 things, you actually would only see the last one that they turned in. But this has been my new go-to. Like every day I click on the activity tab where I'm seeing these comments, so I can tell if students have left me some sort of a note for me to go through or if they've turned anything in. It defaults to alphabetizing alphabetically, which seems ridiculous. Who wants to look at the activity alphabetically? I think it should default to last activity date so I can do this faster. I sort it in reverse order. So that's gonna be really nice. It's coming, it works really good. All that stuff is clickable. So there's these little arrows there so I can sort it by name. Actually click the A to Z so you can sort it by name. You click the arrow so you can sort it by last activity date. You can also sort it by comment and last submission. So those are really nice. And those are coming. Again, I hold down the control key when I click on, pretty much if I click on anything in Google Classroom, I hold down the control key. Let me copy this link address. I have a Google Classroom. Does that work? I think it'll work. I have a Google Classroom that I started this week as a sample. I think one of the best things that you can do is experience Google Classroom as a student. If you've never experienced Google Classroom as a student, why don't you join my sample Google Classroom? I'm just putting a couple things each week, keeping it light. It's summer, friends, just so you can like see what this looks like and that looks like from student view, and I think it'll really help you a lot. So feel free to join my Google Classroom. Probably your school blocks it. By default, school accounts only let you join within your same school. So you can't join Google Classrooms outside of your school. That's not me, it's you. Your school doesn't allow that. And that is the default setting. So you would need to use a personal Gmail account or something if you get an error. Heads up. All right, the People tab. People tabs where I can add co-teachers and I can add students. But if you click on the student's name, that's going to pop open individual student view. Individual student view. And there are filters on the left-hand side. And so then that's where I click missing. I highlight, copy, and paste those into an email or a Google Doc. And that's one of the ways that I get a progress report, sort of, is I just go to the individual student view, select all, and I might use the filters depending on what I'm looking for, and I give that to the students. And sometimes I just straight paste it into the private comments in Google Classroom. So individual student view. And if you actually look at the very top right corner, of individual student view is a envelope icon. And that envelope icon allows you to send a progress report. There's kind of a downside to this progress report. Okay, so first it defaults to sending it to the student, and then you can choose to do student, guardian, or student and guardian. So you have to, every student one at a time, select that you want to do it to students and guardians, and it does assume that they have email. It does not go through your email, so there is no record that you sent them the progress report, so just kind of be aware of that. It always uses the same subject line. You cannot edit the subject line, but you can type a personal message. So you can be like, Krista's missing a lot of work, but make sure you check the checkbox that says include the work summary. So the little email icon at the top lets you send a quick email. Once again, there's no evidence you sent that email. So if you're trying to CYA, I recommend that you instead send emails through your regular email so that you have a record of that you sent it, or that you document it somewhere. But you do need to check the checkbox to include the student work summary, and it sends it via email, and that's the only place that it lives. Okay, questions about that? Does anyone use those? Any tips for working with students who submit without completing assignments? I return it to them. I put in, and lets me do a return note. I return it without a score. When you return without a score, it returns it back to the assigned state or the missing state. And so for that reason, I don't return it. What was I gonna say? I will put a 0.1 or something in there as a kind of a placeholder. I lost my train of thought. I'll think of like specifically how I do that in a second. But when students turn in work, I return it and I put a note, hey, this isn't completed. And yes, they do. And actually that's something that Schoollytics is working on. One of the problems is it's just really easy to accidentally hit the create button and create a blank Google Doc when you had work for them. So they didn't realize that they were supposed to open up your worksheet or whatever. And so then they accidentally make a blank Google Doc. So that's one thing. Another is they're just trying to trick their parents into thinking they have submitted something. And so that's why I have a score specifically for that. So I know what that means. It's coded. So I put the 0.1 in there. It says you submitted a blank document into the private comments. Obviously the parents can't really see the private comments. Now as someone who codes Google Classroom, something that's incredibly annoying to me is the API does not allow me to access private comments. So I can't pull the private comments and I can't push them with code. So, while I can use code to make you a progress report, I cannot include the private comments on the progress report, which is unbelievably annoying. I also cannot code the rubrics, but if you go to alicekeeler.com/GC rubric or alicekeeler.com/GC scoring, I have a spreadsheet that makes it a lot easier to make the rubrics. So enjoy that. My middle schoolers, Aisha says, my middle schoolers responded well to the comment incomplete, especially if I listed which slides they need to work on. And a tip, if I'm looking at the 7th slide, the link at the top links to the 7th slide. So I usually will copy that link to that exact slide and I put it in the chat. So if I'm leaving students feedback in slides, in docs, and wherever, I don't think they actually open it and go look at my comments. So I usually will copy the link to that spot, that slide, and I will paste that into the private comments so that they know that I left them. Or at very least, put a note in the private comments that says that I left comments in the doc. So if you put in a 0, 0 does not count as missing, quite weird. It has to be blank to count as missing, and it has to be blank, and after the score has to be blank, and after the due date to count as missing. I don't make the rules. And so I actually love, love, love all the emails that I get from Google Classroom. Now I know that they are going to do a digest email, hopefully any day now. They announced it several months ago. But I just filter my Gmail so that they all go into a folder, and I know where all my private comments are, because when kids leave me messages, I want to respond. Now the new activity tab definitely helps. The new activity tab, let me back that up. Here we go. It has the comments that they left, but only the last one. So if they left me 2 comments on 2 different things, I would never see it. Actually, if they left me 2 comments on the same thing, I wouldn't see both of them. So this is helpful, but I still really rely on my Gmail, where I filter all of those emails that come in. So they actually have a new icon in Gmail up at the top of Gmail. There's the search box, and it has a filter icon at the top of this in the search box. And then you want to make sure you put it in subject. So look at all those emails that Google Classroom sends you. You want them. You want them. I swear. You just want them somewhere else. So you look for that robot text. What's the information that repeats, 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 repeats in the subject line? And then I put it there. I try to put as specific and as many words as possible so it filters really well. And then don't push enter. Click create filter. And then it gives you a bunch of choices to have it skip the inbox, to put a label. A label is a folder, friends. A label is a folder. And so I filter those, they're in a folder, and I can just find them all at once so I can go through. And then I delete those like crazy. I delete all that stuff like crazy. Once I've looked at it, once I know it's there, I get rid of it. I number all my assignments with a 3-digit number and a hashtag. So then with the hashtag, I put in hashtag 006 at the search at the top. And then all of assignment number 6s, emails come up, not anything with just a 6 in it. And then I select all and hit delete on the trash can. So like, I don't need these. I already looked at number 6. So there's no reason to keep these email notifications in there, but I do want them so that I'm aware of them. So filtering is the way to go. I also said I filter for if they were submitted late and have a folder just for that. I find that to be very helpful. And again, click on create filter. Okay, anyone have questions? Taking a breath. Okay, so all of that, I went through those faster than I thought. All of that are things that you can do with Google Classroom, and I've been very functional with it all of this time, and I like Google Classroom. There are a few things about it that drive me nuts, like the fact that the gradebook is not standard spaced, or that I can't really get a good progress report. Those drive me a little crazy. I also would really, really like a keyboard shortcut that when I type a private comment, they would send it, so I don't have to drag my mouse way over there to click send. So not perfect, but there's a lot of things that are really great about it. So I logged into Schoollytics.io, as I told you at the beginning. This is what I do. I code this. Like, I love data, and it's just the way that I want it. So I actually asked them for a job. I'm like, you guys should hire me. So I'm now working for them part-time so that I could code in features here. So I have a really selfish request is, what do you wish Google Classroom could do if it involves private comments? Unfortunately, right now, the API won't let me do that. But other things, what can I do for you? How can I help you with that? And that's what I'm trying to do, solve some of those pain points using Python, which is much faster than Google Apps Script. So I code in Google Apps Script, and I would love to teach you how to do Google Apps Script. I do coding classes on that, but Python runs it faster, and so I'm learning that. So if you go to Schoollytics.io, I'm going to put that in. So there is kind of a comment bank, Jenny. So when you're in the feedback tool, of Google Classroom, so you click on a student's attachment, it opens up in this frame of the feedback tool. There's actually a little icon for the comment bank, and the comment bank doesn't work very well for the private comments. It kind of does, because you can go over to the comment bank and there's a copy. You can copy it to the clipboard and Control-V paste it. So for that reason, I usually keep my comments in a spreadsheet or a Google Keep note or something nearby, because it's a little bit faster to copy and paste. But when you insert comments into the document, type the hashtag. If you do hashtag, it actually filters into shows the comment banks and surfaces up those answers quickly. Yes. Jenny, it is not great, but it is better than nothing. And it's across all your classes, so it has the same comment bank for your geometry as for your algebra class. So, but yeah, it's not perfect. The Schoollytics is free for teachers, so I would like to convince you today that this is something you want to try to just enhance the information that you can get out of Google Classroom. And what's really great about it is there's nothing to sign up with. You just log in with your Google account. It doesn't even ask you for your name. You're just in. So you go to schoollytics.io and it immediately shows you this dashboard. Now here is my caveat. It shows you this information on a 2-week date range. So where this is showing you 12% of your students have turned in work, because this is like summer. 12% of your students have turned in work. That's over the last 2 weeks. So you can change the date ranges up the top to be the whole semester. That gives you a lot more control. What do you want to look at over what period of time? You'll notice it'll allow you to create groups. So we don't have this yet, but this is one of my top priorities, is make assignments by groups so we can assign group work. So sign up for it, because when that comes out, I want you to be able to have it. And then I like to make all of my Google Classrooms per unit. So I have a Google Classroom for Unit 6, I have a Google Classroom for Unit 7, and I have a Google Classroom for Unit 8. And when I go into Schoollytics, it groups all the data together so I can look at it like it's one Google Classroom, even though I've separated them out. So that's been my favorite part about using Schoollytics. So I log in, it says, gives me all these nice charts and graphs. And then on the left-hand side, you see it has missing assignments reports, which students aren't doing work, which students are doing work. And if I just click on students, it gives me some nice information. So you can see here my friends have 35 assignments they've done, 97% completion rate. And all of these tables are sortable. So any column, you're like, I want to sort by class name, I want to sort by student, I want to sort by assignments given. All of them are clickable. You can click on them, sort it any way that you want. And then you can see this little profile icon, the little clipboard with the man on it. If you click on the clipboard with the man, it's going to give you that student's information, where it allow you to email the student their missing assignments. We are, the CEO, the guy who codes this, he's redoing some things to make it run faster. So there are some buttons that are missing right now. In fact, the progress report button was not there this morning, but we got it put back for you guys. So you'll see that you'll be able to, there is a missing assignments report. That button's not there right now, but there's the progress report, and it exports to a Google Doc, which means it's totally customizable. And again, all data is on the date range. So the progress report, so if you just want to do a progress report for the last week or for the last 2 weeks, so it's not like so long, you can do that, or you can adjust the dates. And like I said, I do a Google Classroom per unit. So I can do it for Unit 6, Unit 7, Unit 8, and it's all combined together. And it gives me lots of great information. There is a quick start guide that you can save and take a look at later. Okay. I made it in Google Slides, of course. So if you wouldn't mind, would you try this out? If you go to Schoollytics.io, I'm going to do that. Now you can just click here where it says live demo. There's this button that says live demo. So you can click on that, and it is going to show you by default what admin view looks like. So you're going to want to toggle that to teacher view or student view. For some reason, the parent view is missing. Like I said, they're updating the whole interface, making it nicer. So there are some things that are missing right now, but for the most part, most of it's back. So if you go into teacher view, it can give you an idea of what kind of reports are available, missing assignments reports, and those kinds of things. And then if you would rather, you can click on login, and it already remembers that I logged in before. You just log in with your Google account and you're in. So you should be able to see all your classes. Now, of course, it's the summer, so this date range is not going to be great for you. So you're going to want to adjust the date range. You can link up to 10 classes on the free teacher account. For most teachers, even if you're high school on a block schedule, you may have 8 classes. I think very rarely people have more than 10. So we do give you 10 for free. And then notice that you can change which classes you want to look at. So it's just really quick and easy to filter for which data that you're looking at. Again, this is all summer data. You can adjust the date range. All right, I know, Dennis, the admin interface is pretty cool. And we have a lot more features coming. So the company is pretty new, and that's what I'm here for, because I love Google Classroom, and there's a few things that drive me nuts, and I code it, and I just would like a better way to make solutions for you. So I'm now working part-time for Schoollytics. So if you want to take just a little poke around, either looking at the demo data, or if you want to look at your actual data, you want to share in the chat a feature that you like in particular. And then I'm going to show you something else that we have. I'm going to drink some water. Oh, and my air conditioning is not working. Even though I'm in Kansas, it's 90 degrees. But since I'm from Fresno, I think it's so nice. I'm like, oh, it's nice and cool at 90 degrees. It's like a holiday. My friends here complain, it's so hot. I'm like, you don't even know. Just shut up. Price of gas went over $3 and they're complaining. I'm like, people. Diploma-bound special education middle school may have up to 14 classes. Thank you, Aisha. We do try to, it does catch most people. And so if your school were to get the admin level, which would just open up, it's freemium like every other product, right? And so if you do need more than 10 classes, we would need, we sell that as part of the admin package. Then you can have unlimited classes if you have the paid version. And if anybody wants to email Anna at schoollytics.io, she would be happy to set up a demo for you, get you on a trial for the admin version, or just answer more questions. So I don't try to sell it, I just like to use it. And if you'll click on the 3 lines menu in the upper left-hand corner, the 3 lines menu in the upper left-hand corner, you can return back to classes to change which 10. So Aisha, one hack is you can do 10 of them, and then you just go back to classes and select a different 10. The disadvantage is you couldn't get aggregate data across all 14, which is something I definitely do, is get data across all my classes pooled together, which I really love. You can make student groups. So you can look at student data by group, and hopefully soon to assign group work. That is my goal. And then if you go to Instructional Resources, this is a beta feature. And we are going to add a whole lot more stuff into here. The Instructional Resources. Yeah, by grade level, sure. When you go to Instructional Resources, you see these are actually the assignments that I have assigned in my Google Classroom for my online workshop. So it makes it really easy for me to reuse an assignment. Now notice how great this is that when I reuse to an assignment, I don't lose my spot. So you see I scroll down and I'm like, and I want to add this assignment, and I want to add this assignment, and I want to add this assignment. You know what happens when you reuse post in Google Classroom, right? You have to re-scroll all over again. So this is my spot. This is my sweet spot of things that I want to put in here, is what I'm going to code, is stuff for Instructional Resources, of ways to make assigning assignments to group work and these things easier. And then we have a lot of Khan Academy assignments in there, so that you can quickly and easy get something for if you have a sub. Aisha, there's definitely ways to hack around so you can get your free account to see all of it. So definitely. And I love this because I was using Moat. I was showing the guy from Moat that I use Moat. I can prove that I use Moat because if I go to domain, you can see here that it's showing me that I have 164 assignments that has something from Google Drive. I have 19 assignments that have a YouTube video, and I have 10 assignments that have a Moat in it. And I can filter that down so I can see how well I'm using different products, and then it gives me some data like, do the kids like this? Is it working? And allows me to reuse it. And we're working on getting it so you can share it with other teachers. That's down the road. It's a little tricky. Is there any questions I can answer? I can answer questions about anything. It doesn't have to be Schoollytics. We're talking about Google Classroom. So I just wanted to give you a little preview into the Schoollytics. We're doing Google Classroom. Oh, yes, we're going to be giving away some of my books during lunchtime. I sent some of the Google Jamboard books for the giveaway. Thanks, Dennis, for the reminder. I'll give you one of my sample jams. I believe, let's see if this one works. AliceKeeler.com/open middle jam. I'm gonna test that. Yep, that worked. I love Open Middle. Open Middle is higher level critical thinking math problems. It is for math. Yeah, Jeannie, right? I love you some Robert Kaplinski. If you've never been to Robert Kaplinski is like the expert in DOK critical thinking. So even though his site is around DOK for math, you will just learn a lot about DOK just by looking through his stuff. Yes, and there's an Open Middle book, absolutely, absolutely. So robertkaplinski.com/lessons. Those are free problem-based lessons for you. I'll give you again, here's the link to the slides. All right, I'm giving you some time to ask me questions. I know lots of things. I can also just throw at you a bunch of stuff that I've coded. AliceKeeler.com/reuseGC is the thing I use the most with Google Classroom. And then I have AliceKeeler.com/first slide, which allows you to push and pull slides to student slides so you can update all their slides. I actually have a ton of features in that. I need to redo the sidebars because I keep adding more features. And now I just need to like rethink how, and I've been saying this for months and I just haven't done it. Yeah, you're welcome, Elizabeth. Thank you. Oh, you know what? I need to refresh. And you guys had filled out a form. Like I should know that, Alice. See what you got in here. It was in the form. You want to hide specific posts at any time. Now, currently, you can't do that without deleting the posts, which is why I like to make a new Google Classroom every unit, because then I archive the previous unit. And I've moved on. And that's very helpful. Archive a month, a term during the year. So Janie, the hack is definitely, this is one of my favorite things because I can be a lot more creative with my Google Classroom when I make a new one every unit or every grading period. Connect the graded to my Aries gradebook. That is possible, isn't it? I believe there is different, I was reading the website for the Google for Education where they now have all these paid tiers. And if you're at the top paid tier, they will connect it to your gradebook. But there are many gradebooks that integrate in there. It does, I thought so. Pretty sure Aries did. Super. Wish. Schedule. Your wishes come true, whoever you are. This is already a feature that is coming out on Google Classroom. It could be any minute now. Any minute now it's going to be live. So we'll find out when it comes. Putting grades by subject. You can of course add category grades in there, but the hack is definitely to use topics. So you organize them by the topic, and then Schoollytics is able to break your grades down by topic. So if you use the topics. All right. Track progress of student assignment completion. So that is something you can do in Schoollytics currently. And if I can make any filters or views for you that would make that easier, I would love to make that for you. So please pass that along to me. Right. So you can't do it within the Google Classroom. And I don't have any way of coding that other than deleting the post. So the only way to do that is with a new class. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I can't read it. I'll take a look at that later. Grade by student instead of assignment. You kind of can if you go to the grades tab, but I agree with you. Now here's the thing is if I were to fix this where I code it, if I were to code it, The only way to grade an assignment from something that I fix or hack with code is if you generate the assignment from the code. That's why in my reuse GC, alicekill.com/reuse GC, I make all my assignments from the spreadsheet. So I have a button that says make an assignment. I make 100% of all my assignments from the spreadsheet. I do not use the create button on the classwork tab because then I can't code and manipulate those assignments. So let me just write that down because that's kind of easy. I can get something like that. Grade by student. Okay. I wish I had an option to not allow late submissions after a specific date. Just make it your policy, give them a 0 and put a note that this is late. You don't have to apologize. Seating charts and other visual reports. That is kind of strange that there is not a seating chart, but that is something that I have asked. I gave that idea to Schoollytics, but I'd like to see the seating chart also have some data and things that you can do with it to make things easier for you. I'd like to see a way that I can have a parent contact log, especially when I email parents. I want that automatically in there. Wish I could move the topics on the left margin to the classwork tab. So if you resize the window on the classwork tab, the topics will go to the top versus the side. I'm not sure that that's what you're saying. Yes, the data entry is a booger, which is why I use my reuse GC, because if I make the assignment from the spreadsheet, it'll auto score and it'll just give everybody a default full credit, so I can just return it without having to type their scores in. So I'll type that one more time. Okay. All right. Oh, we're done. That's right. It's 1:20, finished. Thank you, everybody. I've got all of your suggestions in here, and I will be taking a look at those and seeing which ones I can incorporate in one format or another. And if you have any other wishes, just keep sending them to me. I do my best. So thank you guys. I appreciate you coming. The